Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Today, I want to share a story that will make you question what true wealth really means, test the limits of love, and show the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. It's a story of sacrifice, betrayal, and redemption, where one single act at a wedding changes the lives of everyone involved and teaches a lesson no amount of money can buy. I told you not to come here. How dare you show your face in this sacred place? The bride, Mama Ngozi, clenched her jaw, her eyes burning with fury as she screamed at the elderly woman before her. You ruined my big day! Get out before I have security drag you away! Crystal glasses slipped from trembling hands, shattering across the marble floor. The choir froze mid-note. Guests sat in stunned silence. The old woman bent down, hands shaking, gathering the broken shards. But the deeper wound wasn't at the sting of anger or embarrassment. It was the realization that this bride had just struck her own mother-in-law, unaware of the truth. Chinedu Obiora, the groom, stood paralyzed. The man who had risen from the dusty streets of his village to become a celebrated billionaire across the city looked upon the woman who had raised him with reverence and love, his mother. And now, in front of hundreds of witnesses, she was being treated like dirt. In a small village at the edge of the red sun-baked lands where mornings began with roosters and nights whispered with crickets, two lives were intertwined by survival. Mama Ngozi, a woman whose back was bent far too early by life's burdens, had only one son, Chinedu, the light of her world. Her husband had died before Chinedu could even call him father. On the day he left, she knelt at his grave, tears seeping into the dry soil as though they could coax him home. But the earth never returns what it takes. From that day, she became both mother and father to her son. Every morning she rose before the sun's first light, walking the rocky path to the market to buy cheap vegetables. By evening, her hands ached from kneading dough, chopping greens and sorting beans, preparing everything to sell. Chinedu grew up in the rhythm of her exhaustion, the smell of sweat and the sound of her tired breaths filling his childhood. There were times when the rain ruined her business, and their only meal was rice and salt. Watching her son eat slowly pierced her heart like knives. That night, she whispered, "Don't be sad, my son. I will do everything so you can study and live with dignity." These were not mere promises, they were sacred vows etched into her soul. When she couldn't afford tuition, she begged at the school gate, enduring judgmental stares and sharp whispers, telling herself, if my son can learn, then every humiliation is worth it. Chinedu saw it all. He never cried. His tears hardened into silent fire, fueling a hunger to escape poverty and reward his mother's sacrifices. Whenever he topped his class, he sprinted home barefoot across scorching soil, raising his results paper high. "Mama, I'm first again!" he shouted. She embraced him, eyes glistening. "Well done, my son. One day the world will know your name." Yet with every step he advanced, Mama Ngozi aged. Hands once soft became cracked and bleeding. Feet once nimble dragged across cold nights. One evening, while mending clothes to sell the next day, Chinedu said, voice trembling, "Mama, if you're too tired, I can stop school and help you." She placed her hand on his head, eyes steady. "No. Everything I could not have, you must. If you stop now, all my sacrifices will have been for nothing." Her brave smile hid oceans of pain. In the village, everyone knew Mama Ngozi was poor, but her dignity was priceless. When Chinedu was accepted into a city university, she held the admission letter like treasure. She borrowed money, scraped every coin, even sold her cherished wedding ring just to send him on that bus. As the vehicle disappeared into the dusty horizon, she stood with arms wrapped around her chest, fearing her son might forget the smell of village soil or the warmth of her arms. On that day, Chinedu made a silent vow. If I succeed, Mama will be the first person I bring home. If I become wealthy, her hands will never bleed again. Every sleepless night, every salt and water meal, every drop of sweat she shed began to bloom in the garden of his future. The city welcomed Chinedu with skyscrapers that pierced the sky. Neon lights, endless traffic, and glittering dreams surrounded him. But his mother's words echoed. Success isn't tea for show. It is to protect those you love. On his first day, he wore worn shoes and a shirt his mother had washed and ironed with care. Classmates laughed, but he kept walking. He was there to defeat destiny. Chinedu's city life was a world apart from the dusty village of his youth. Skyscrapers seemed to scrape the clouds. Neon signs flashed like the pulse of ambition, and endless traffic reminded him of the ceaseless rhythm of opportunity. But no matter how high he climbed, his mother's sacrifices were never far from his mind. Every decision, every late-night effort, every line of code he wrote carried her face, her hands, her tireless work etched in memory. Chinedu excelled. He became a prodigy in technology, a coder whose apps changed lives. One evening, in a tech seminar, the professor asked, "If you could create anything to change lives, what would it be?" While others dreamed of flashy gadgets, Chinedu's thoughts returned to Mama Ngozi. She had begun forgetting things, wandering the crowded markets, disoriented. His hand shot up. "I want to build an app to help elderly people find their way home and receive help if they feel lost." The room paused, then nodded slowly. "It may not change the world," the professor said, "but it will save someone's world." Nights passed with nothing but the glow of his laptop reflecting in determined eyes. Failures and setbacks tested him, but every time he faltered, he thought of Mama Ngozi trudging through rain with purple lips from the cold, carrying vegetables to feed her son. He could not fail. He would not. When the app finally launched, it was an instant success. Millions downloaded it, investors lined up, and news outlets hailed him as the youngest tech billionaire in the nation. At an awards ceremony, amidst flashing cameras and roaring applause, Chinedu's voice trembled as he said, "My inspiration came from my mother, the woman who always guided me home, even when life tried to make me lose my way." His eyes, however, searched the back of the hall for the familiar, frail figure. Mama Ngozi had no idea her son's promise had already begun to bloom. She was still in the village, selling vegetables to pay off his school debts. A few days later, Chinedu returned in a modest suit, eyes shining, and found Mama Ngozi blinking in disbelief. Is that really you, my son?" she asked. He embraced her, tears wetting her worn shoulders. "Mama, from now on I will be your feet. No one will ever look down on you again." He brought her to the city, to the grand mansion he had purchased. People gasped at the sight of a billionaire proudly escorting his humble mother, bent but dignified in a faded headscarf. But to Chinedu, she was priceless. In the mansion, Mama Ngozi continued her habits from the village. She prepared meals herself, insisting, "I like doing things myself. That way, I still feel alive." Chinedu understood. Nothing she did was ever small. During these days, love arrived in another form. Amara, beautiful and elegant, entered Chinedu's life. Her designer dresses and sparkling smile captivated him, and he believed she was a reward for his years of struggle. But Mama Ngozi, wise and observant, noticed a different side. Amara's smile was warm with him, but cold toward her. The first signs of tension appeared quietly, a whispered comment here, a glare there. Mama Ngozi didn't speak, choosing instead to let Chinedu's happiness remain untouched by worry. The storm, however, was approaching fast. One afternoon, the staff prepared for a high-profile reception. A maid accidentally dropped a wine decanter. Amara erupted. "Do you know how expensive that is? You useless fools!" Mama Ngozi, rushing to clean the shards, cut her hand. Blood welled, but Amara did not care. "Let me handle it," Mama Ngozi said softly, her voice steady. Amara snapped, "Don't interfere with me! I know what's best in this house!" Chinedu entered at that moment and saw the blood on his mother's hand. "Mama, are you hurt?" he asked. Mama Ngozi quickly hid the wound. "I'm fine, just a scratch. Don't make a fuss." But inside, a quiet fear grew. Amara's smile, too sharp, too fake, reminded her of those who once looked down upon her poverty. Days passed, and the wedding approached, the event of the year. A custom gown from Paris, a golden hall, elite guests whispering admiration. Mama Ngozi worked quietly in the background, ensuring everything ran smoothly, stitching herself clean and neat, honoring her son's happiness. She moved through the chaos with humility, a stark contrast to the arrogance surrounding her. The wedding day arrived like a shimmering dream. The church sparkled under crystal chandeliers, French flowers lined the grand staircase, and the choir's melodies floated through the air like perfume. Amara Naji emerged in her gown, every step choreographed to perfection, every camera fixed on her. She radiated confidence, her gaze sharp as if the world already belonged to her. At the back, Mama Ngozi watched quietly. She wore no designer gown, only her traditional dress, stitched neatly and full of history. Her eyes shone with joy, but inside a faint tremor lingered. Was it happiness, or a premonition of what was to come? Chinedu appeared shortly after in a dazzling white tuxedo, rushing to embrace his mother. "Mama, you look beautiful today. You must smile a lot," he said. Pride and love coursed through him, yet he sensed the tension surrounding them. Behind the scenes, Mama Ngozi moved quietly, helping staff where needed, ensuring everything was perfect. She placed herself in a simple black service uniform over her traditional attire, carrying trays and adjusting decorations, just as she had done all her life. Her only desire was for her son's wedding to be flawless. But fate has a way of testing even the strongest hearts. Amara, proud and commanding, stood at the altar, unaware of Mama Ngozi carrying a tray of crystal glasses for VIP guests. A misstep sent a few drops spilling onto Amara's pristine gown. What to a humble soul was a tiny accident became an unforgivable crime in Amara's eyes. Her reaction was immediate and violent. "What do you think you're doing? Do you know how expensive this dress is?" she yelled. Before Mama Ngozi could finish apologizing, Amara's hand struck her face. The slap echoed through the hall, silencing the choir, freezing the guests. Shock painted every face. Mama Ngozi's cheek burned, her eyes wide with heartbreak. Amara spat her words with venom. "Stay away from me, you cheap, worthless servant." The room went still. No one realized that the servant was the groom's mother, the woman who had sacrificed her youth, her health, and her dignity to raise a son who had become a hero in society. Chinedu froze. His heart thundered in his chest. "Amara, what did you do?" he demanded, voice shaking with horror. Amara turned pale, realizing who stood before her, but she quickly masked it with arrogance. "She stained my dress. This gown cost hundreds of thousands of dollars." The church seemed to hold its breath. Whispers ignited like wildfire. Guests fumbled for their phones, recording the moment that would soon go viral. Chinedu rushed to his mother's side. "Mama, are you hurt?" Mama Ngozi forced a small, quivering smile. "I'm all right. Just a misunderstanding. Don't make a scene." But the forgiveness in her voice cut deeper than the slap ever could. Chinedu's anger turned to steel. "You slapped my mother on our wedding day. Do you even know who she is?" His voice thundered, echoing off marble walls. Hundreds of eyes fixed on Amara, no longer admiration, but disgust. "I recorded everything," a guest said, lifting a phone. The world would soon witness her cruelty. Amara gasped, tears spilling, not from remorse but from fear of losing everything. She lunged toward Chinedu, pleading, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I love you. Don't end everything over something so small." Chinedu's cold smile cut through her. "A slap to my mother is never small." He spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "The wedding ceremony is over." The staff gently escorted Mama Ngozi out, her steps slow, her gaze calm. "My child, don't let hatred make you someone you're not," she whispered to Chinedu. Outside, wind whipped through the churchyard as if cleansing the air of vanity and arrogance. Chinedu held his mother's hand tightly. "Mama, from this moment on, I won't let anyone hurt you again." Amara was removed by security, screaming for Chinedu, but he did not look back. The wedding that had been meant to shine with luxury now became a lesson in respect, love, and loyalty. By morning, social media erupted. Videos of the slap spread across cities like wildfire. Bride slaps mother-in-law inside church. Arrogance without humanity. Amara's name, once a symbol of elegance, became a national joke. Contracts were terminated, her reputation in ruins. Meanwhile, Mama Ngozi became the emblem of dignity and grace. She spoke to reporters, her voice soft but unwavering. Do not judge someone forever by a moment they failed. Give them a chance to learn to be human again. Chinedu filed charges for elder abuse, defamation, and emotional harm. Amara appeared in court, her former arrogance stripped away. She cried, clinging to excuses. The judge's verdict was firm. Respect for elders is not conditional. The court erupted into applause, celebrating justice and the resilience of the human heart. Life returned to quiet peace. Chinedu devoted himself entirely to Mama Ngozi. Nights were spent walking under streetlights, sharing stories, enjoying simple meals like the old days. One evening, Mama Ngozi asked softly, "Do you regret canceling the wedding?" Chinedu shook his head. "If I had to trade the world to protect you, I would do it again." Mama Ngozi laughed, a sound that carried warmth through years of sacrifice. The slap, though painful, had reminded the world of one timeless truth. A mother, no matter how old or poor, always deserves the highest place in her child's heart. Weeks later, life settled into a quiet rhythm. Mama Ngozi, now living in the city with Chinedu, continued to carry herself with the same dignity she always had. She cooked meals, tended the house, and kept her routines, not for luxury, but because it made her feel alive. Chinedu, now a successful billionaire, never interfered. For him, nothing his mother did was ever small. Amara Naji, meanwhile, had disappeared from the public eye. Her once flawless world of designer dresses, flashing lights, and admiration had crumbled. She was ordered to community service caring for the elderly, banned from contacting Chinedu or his mother. It was during her time at a senior care center that she first saw Mama Ngozi again, not in a wedding hall but in a quiet, everyday moment. Amara sat at the end of a row, uniformed, eyes swollen from sleepless regret. Mama Ngozi noticed her immediately. The woman had come voluntarily, seeking to make amends, and that was all that mattered. Mama Ngozi approached slowly, each step deliberate, calm, and steady. She did not walk as a victim confronting an offender, but as a mother approaching a lost child. Placing a hand on Amara's shoulder, Mama Ngozi said gently, "You did wrong, but you still have the chance to make things right." Amara broke down in tears, collapsing to her knees, holding onto Mama's legs. "I don't ask for forgiveness. Just please don't hate me," she whispered. Mama Ngozi bent down, lifting Amara's chin so their eyes met. "Hating someone only chains your heart to pain," she said softly. "I want my heart to be free." Amara's tears fell freely, and in that moment, a heavy burden lifted from both women. The world witnessed kindness defeating cruelty, and a lesson of grace unfolded before anyone watching. Back at home, Mama Ngozi continued to share her wisdom with Chinedu. "You don't have to be strong for the world," she said one evening, her eyes resting on him. "I am strong, not for them. But so you know I can stand beside you no matter how big the storm gets." Chinedu held her hand tightly, the same hand that had carried him from poverty to greatness. They shared simple meals together, no cameras, no diamonds, no grand celebrations, only bowls, spoons, and the soft breeze drifting through the window. The peace they found was richer than any wealth. Chinedu whispered, "Thank you for teaching me what money can't buy." Mama Ngozi smiled, shaking her head gently. "I didn't teach you anything. You learned it from the way I lived." She looked out at the moonlit city, reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. To climb to the top, you must bow to the ground that lifted you and honor the hands that raised you. Chinedu embraced his mother, whispering, "I love you." Outside, the world continued to push people toward blind ambition, but their story stood as a reminder. Success means nothing without gratitude, and forgiveness is the most powerful weapon against cruelty. Amara, too, continued her path of redemption, volunteering quietly, learning humility, and discovering the value of compassion. She no longer sought wealth or admiration, but understanding. And though she could never undo the past, She learned that one's heart could still grow beyond mistakes. Mama Ngozi often reflected on her life, from the dusty village to the city's towering skyline. She thought of every sacrifice, every hardship, every tear shed for her son, and she understood the truth she had always lived by. A mother's love is the foundation of everything, unshakable and eternal. Chinedu and Mama Ngozi walked together each night under the city lights, not rich in gold or fame, but rich in love and respect. And sometimes, in the quiet moments, Chinedu would whisper, "If I had to trade the world to protect you, I would do it again." Mama Ngozi laughed softly, the sound carrying a lifetime of joy, sorrow, and resilience. The slap, painful though it had been, had reminded the world of one timeless truth. A mother, no matter her age or status, always deserves the highest place in her child's heart. And so life continued. Lessons learned, love preserved, and hearts made kinder. Mama Ngozi and Chinedu thrived together, proof that wealth is meaningless without gratitude, and that forgiveness can heal even the deepest wounds. And that's the story, friends. A tale that reminds us that no matter how much we achieve or how high we rise, true greatness lies in respect, gratitude, and the love we give to those who raised us. Never forget the hands that lifted you, the hearts that guided you, and the power of forgiveness, even in the face of pain. If this story touched you, share it with someone you love, and let them know today how much they mean to you. Drop a heart in comment, like and subscribe my channel, and visit my channel for more interesting stories videos.